What's up, everyone? Welcome to my very humble channel. Now, let's go right on into it. I was looking around at carnivore videos, and this woman had a video titled Why I'm Gaining Weight on Carnivore. And I clicked on it and I started watching it, and everything she was describing was exactly what all of my clients who've gained weight on carnivore, they are saying the same thing. But in my opinion, she doesn't know why she's gaining weight. She comes close and she makes some good points, but she really doesn't understand. She mentions things like cortisol. I'm going to go through the video. I want to remind you guys that when I do these reviews of people's channels, it's not like the old, carnivore reviews, vegan people. It's not to do that. It's not to roast anyone. But I think we can all value and learn something from other people's experiences. Now, I can use clients that I've worked with, or I can just find people on the internet as they tell their story of why things have gone wrong. And it just seems like nobody understands because the information that they get probably perhaps hasn't been vetted enough. But let's get into her video as she describes why she's gaining weight on carnivore.
Hi, I'm Jen. If you're new here, I am delighted to meet you. I have experienced radical healing on a carnivore diet, and believe me, going on the carnivore diet has been the best thing I've ever done for myself. But one thing I have not experienced is significant weight loss. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I posted
Okay, I just want to make a comment. I think carnivore is great, and I've expressed this many times before. She had severe eczema, and going carnivore literally has cleared up her skin. But was it actually carnivore, or was it the fact that she was cutting out the specific foods that was aggravating and inflaming her body, which then appeared on the skin?
But one thing I have not experienced is significant weight loss. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I posted a video recently about the ups and the downs of my experience on a carnivore diet for about a year and a half. Here's what the thumbnail looks like so you can find it, and I will also pin it at the end of this video in case you want to watch it. But in that
I got to remember to link her channel. So as you can see, I'm not trying to roast her. She seems like a lovely person. So go and check out her channel and her stories. But I'm tying together what I believe she does not understand or know.
video, I talked about lots of wonderful things I've experienced as a carnivore, like getting off my autoimmune medication for my psoriasis and conquering binge eating and all kinds of wonderful things. But
Here's the thing with binge eating. That's one thing I disagree with. A lot of people binge on carnivore. So that was her individual experience, and we cannot use the individual. We have to use the collective when we're trying to make a decision if a new diet like this is advantageous.
there have been a few negative things too. And one of those in particular is weight loss. Now, I never set out to lose weight. That was never my point of doing the carnivore diet, but I did lose a little bit of weight at the beginning. But then I plateaued, and then ever since I've been gaining weight. So that's what we're going to dig into here. Do all that. There hasn't been a huge change when it comes to my exercise, with the exception of having a little more trouble with some endurance activities at altitude. That has been harder for me as a carnivore, but in general.
Okay, so she's having problems exercising in altitude. What the frack does that mean? Is she going to the Himalayas? I'm not trying to mess with you, ma'am. But what does that mean? You mean climbing hills? If she's having difficulties with endurance training, it means she's not in ketosis. The adrenals are overworking. But let's continue.
In general, I've had plenty of energy to do exercise activities, and I have that hasn't changed a lot from the beginning of my journey to now.
Okay, so if you're not in ketosis, which I assume that she is not, and then you are having a ton of energy, you guys don't realize this, but you can get energy from your adrenals. But later she's going to mention cortisol. If she's gaining weight on a carnivore diet, she's not in ketosis, especially when she mentions that her cortisol is high. Let's continue.
So after that first couple months, my weight definitely plateaued. And then at about the 6 month mark, I was really noticing definitely no more weight loss and kind of even a little bit of a creep back up starting to happen. Also, at that 6 month mark, I noticed that I was not sleeping as well. I would wake up fully alert at an average of about 3 a.m. every night. So I
Okay, you see that? She's waking up at 3 a.m. because she's experiencing hypoglycemia in the middle of the night because she's not in ketosis. What I just said prior was that her adrenals are overfiring. She's getting energy from her adrenals. But when you're using your adrenal system and cortisol to break down glucose from amino acids, and this is going to destabilize your blood sugar even more, which makes sense why her altitude training wasn't working. And now she's waking up at 3. This is where the body starts to fail on a carnivore diet. Her skin cleared up, but then now she's developed a secondary problem.
get about 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep, wake up fully alert, ready to go, and basically just thinking, I guess I don't need as much sleep as a carnivore.
Absolute nonsense. Everybody needs sleep. Your body has to go through 4 to 5 REM cycles of 90-minute cycles so you can repair. And if she's waking up, it's because she is hypoglycemic.
Or I guess I only need 5.5 to 6 hours. This is awesome. I'm going to be so much more productive now because I don't need to sleep. Now, in retrospect, a year later, I think I know why this was happening. And we'll discuss this more later in this video. But I just want to mention at that time, at about that 6 month mark, I was measuring glucose and ketones. And my glucose was typically in the 60s in the morning, sometimes even in the 50s.
You guys, I just said she was hypoglycemic. 50s and 60s is abysmal. It's dangerous to be that low in blood sugar. This is horrible. Absolute nightmare. This is what you don't want to see.
And I know that's low, but I'm not diabetic and I felt fine and I would have energy to go to the gym. I'd typically work out fasted. I mostly, like I said, felt pretty.
Okay, fasted. So she's got hypoglycemia. She's going through gluconeogenesis. The body's doing desperate attempts to raise her blood sugar on a carnivore diet because she's probably eating high protein, I assume. I could be wrong. I know I'm right. I assume I'm right. And she's working out because her adrenals are firing. That's why she's got energy. But then she's tanking. And she's doing it fasted. Horrible to work out fasted. No hunter-gatherer would go exert themselves on purpose.
Pretty good. So I really didn't worry about it at all, even though those couple little
Exert themselves, sorry, I hate to cut it down. Exert themselves on purpose without eating anything. They always were trying to conserve energy, not just burn it off for no intent except for aesthetics.
pounds were slowly starting to creep back on. About 10 months into my time as a carnivore, I decided I had achieved so many of my goals. I was off my medication, my skin was clear, I was no longer binge eating, I was feeling really good. And so I decided, okay, now I really want to focus on weight loss. And so I'm going to spend the next year or so really figuring out how to best do that, how to serve my body well, how to feed it well, how to maintain energy, but how to lose a little bit of weight. And at the beginning
And I think that's a great goal.
of that time, I got a DEXA scan, which is a scan to tell you exactly what percentage of your body is made up of fat and how much lean mass you have, what your bone density is, all of those kinds of things. So I'm going to share those details with you. I have my printout right here. So I'm going to look at this to give you the data. So on January 6th, 2020, I weighed 177 pounds. Again, I had started to gain a little bit of weight from my low of like 172 to 174, something like that. My total body fat percentage was 32.5%. So we'll round it up to 33% just for ease. I had about 58 pounds of fat, about 113 pounds of lean tissue.
Okay, so as you can see her here, she's 177 pounds at 5'8". She says that her body weight goal is around, I think she said 150, 160, which I think is fair. Her body fat is 32. Now it ends up going to up to be 35% on a carnivore diet. And our visceral fat, she points to, is the fat around your organs, which is kind of dangerous. And that one
tissue and my visceral fat was about 0.75 pounds. Now, I understand from the DEXA scan tech person that anything less than 2 pounds of visceral fat is considered pretty good, but the closer to zero, the better. I mean, we don't want to have any visceral fat if we can help it. But anyway, she made me feel pretty good with that 0.75 pounds. So I got these results and I felt really motivated to really improve my fitness, lose some weight, increase my not increase, but improve my body composition and just really work on sort of physique goals. And I wasn't super happy with the findings that I got, but I just felt like this is a good baseline. I'm so happy to have this data so I can look back on it in 6 months and have made a complete difference. Okay.
Absolutely, and I think that was a great idea as well. She's trying to hack her own body. She's listening to a lot of advice from a lot of other people. She's nice and her skin improved, but now her metabolism is now becoming more broken, and that's not good.
So unfortunately, that hasn't happened. But over the last, I guess, almost 9 months since I got that DEXA scan, I've tried so many things, you guys. I've tracked my macros, I've tracked calories, I've done fasting, mostly intermittent fasting, but I've tried some longer fasts as well.
See this fasting garbage? And she's gaining weight. People who are fasting, please stop. You're destroying your metabolism. Okay, you've been tricked, you've been bamboozled, and you've been lied to. Okay, it's a profitable concept.
I've gone months dairy free. I've done the lion diet. I've gone months without coffee. I have not been cheating at all. I mean, I've barely even used spices or anything. I have been like religiously carnivore, okay? And honestly, all of those things either didn't make a difference when it came to my weight or kind of seemed like it was. So now, fast forward.
Did you guys hear her? She said that all of those things that she tried to improve her health and weight loss made things worse, which meant her body fat kept going up. But the one thing that she is not talking about is blood sugar in in relationship to ketones and the overall stress of her hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. She's not talking about that, nor leptin resistance, thyroid problems, none of it. And she has not broken down her macros in this particular video. So I think I might use her videos as a gauge because she's really trying. So this is not a road. This is just showing you that she is blindly led and she's doing everything she can to fix her body.
I wear like a 10, giant collarbones. I mean, I'm just a bigger person and I love that. I'm not putting myself down in any way. Um, Somewhere between like mid 150s and low 160s is where I felt my best in the past, and which puts me in technically a healthy body weight range and where my clothes fit and where I feel good. So that's what I'm aiming for. And that would require me to lose about 30 pounds. I just really don't think that that's too much to ask. Now, here's why I think that this has not been easy for me. Now, I know sometimes it is easy for people, and all you have to do is eat the meat and do like Dr. Barry says, you don't have to track anything. It's just easy. And that does seem to be the case for a lot of people, but not for me. And I know that is not the case for a lot of you either because you tell me. And so that's why I'm making this video. I mean, I don't love showing my body and talking about my insecurities and all of that, but I want I'm sharing the process with you while I'm still in the middle of it. It's hard to do, but I think there's value in that. So as I'm trialing and erroring, I can share that with you and hopefully I'll master this and you can benefit from some of my experience. In my opinion, what's happened that's made it so hard for me to lose weight is remember back when I said about 6 months into the carnivore diet, that's when my weight stalled. It started creeping back up, and I was not sleeping well at night, and I was finding my morning blood sugars to be super low. Well, I think that what was happening was my blood sugar was dropping a lot through the night. So my body would release cortisol to increase my blood sugar, and that would wake me up feeling alert and ready to tackle the day. And I think I've just been in a high cortisol state ever since. And again, this is just my hypothesis, but I think that for about the last year, this has been going on. And I think high cortisol levels have increased my feelings of stress, kept me from sleeping well, and just caused me to slowly start.
The one problem is she's not saying what gave her high cortisol. It was the fasting. It was the way she did carnivore. It was, I don't know if she has skipped meals or not, but fasting is, I mean, it's fasting, isn't it? Intermittent fasting and all types of fasting in the Lion diet. These practices that she used, plus working out fasted, all tanked her blood sugar stability. She became dysglycemic, and probably the thyroid being affected, if not the leptin, and her estrogen probably began to climb because she started to develop visceral fat.
Steadily gaining weight. Now, here's what I'm going to do about it. For one thing, I'm going to continue eating a mostly meat diet. Definitely the proper human diet, in Dr. Berry's words. But I am planning to selectively include some carbs, even some from plants. So I'm going to choose ones that are low oxalate and low in anti nutrients. And I'm also going to prioritize some animal foods.
I mean, here's the thing. She feels bad to bring back carbs. She might have to before she tanks her thyroid. But the one thing she has not mentioned in this whole thing is high fat. And that's the problem. She doesn't understand this is not a high protein diet because protein is not a good source of energy. It can tank your hormones. Fat is a great source of fuel. Fat or carbs. If she brings some back, if she brings starches, she can't do 30 grams of carbs in starch. She has to bring it up to 100. She talked about weird stuff like
that have carbs,
cheese.
like yogurt and cottage cheese and those kinds of things, for example.
That's not carbs. And she also said she had to take out dairy. So is bringing back that dairy, and is she going to get grass-fed sour cream and cottage cheese?
I'm going to wear a continuous glucose monitor so I can see what's happening with my blood sugars overnight.
So continuous glucose numbers are great for checking the algorithm of your blood sugar. So I think it's great that she's using the CGM to check her blood sugar at night. But the numbers, I want to let you guys know, not her, I'm not talking about her, that those numbers aren't always accurate. So sometimes you just check the algorithm of it.
And I'm also going to use that data to see what's happening during the day with the foods that I eat. And I want to really make sure that I'm keeping my glucose low, not super low to the point that it's a problem, but low and stable and steady. I'm also going
Okay, so she doesn't understand how low her blood sugar should be. It should be between a 75 and an 83, and then the ketones are not mentioned, which should be between a 1.8. Of course, I didn't mute my phone. 1.8 to a 3.0. Glucose should be a 75 to an 83. 75 to an 83, and her ketone should be between a 1.8 and a 3.0.
going to really prioritize my sleep, my stress levels, and continue to exercise. If I'm correct in thinking that this is a hormonal issue specifically related to cortisol, then all of
It's not just cortisol. She doesn't realize it's going to be cortisol. It's going to be estrogen. It's going to be thyroid hormones and potentially leptin. So she's getting on the right track, but until she understands all those things and her gut, if she's absorbing her nutrients, she needs to up her fat.
those steps really should help. I plan to document this as I go and be open and honest and just share the process with you as I do it, because I think that it really will probably help a lot of you. And if nothing else, it helps me to kind of stay the course because I know that people are counting on me. And so I want to get to I want to get to the bottom of this for myself, but I also hope that, like, these trials and tribulations
So
aren't
there
in
you have
vain.
it, you guys. I'm gaining weight on a carnivore diet. I will link her channel. I think she's lovely. This is not to roast her. So all you safe space people need to calm down because we need to know the truth. If you don't know the truth, you're going to continue to tank your health. If you do a carnivore diet, it does have a great purpose, like she used it for her psoriasis. But you have to make it ketogenic and you have to rotate foods. And she has to think about her gut because she has psoriasis. She has to think, Do I have a leaky gut? Was I breastfed? Was I vaginally birthed? Have I had antibiotics? All of these things can create a dysbiotic gut. If she has no fiber, then she has nothing to stabilize her bacteria. This is the problem with doing all meat, is that a lot of people are losing diamine oxidase and developing a dysbiotic gut on carnivore, because over time their beneficial bacteria begins to go because there's nothing to stabilize it. And that's why I start asking people, maybe try a little bit of leek, the green part, or maybe try a little bit of artichoke, and especially asparagus. All right, guys, if you want to learn more, go to stephanieperson.com and book a consultation if you need my help. I'm going to put all this information in the 30-day challenge, and we're almost there. So stay patient for signups. My Instagram is Stephanie Ketogenic. I'm 56 now, even though I need to change the intro. It says I'm 55. 56, 16 years solid on a ketogenic diet. Made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned a lot, and I'm here to help you guys, and I'm out. Peace.